Why didn't it beep? Why didn't it make the beep? Oh, there's the beep. Yeah, all right. Okay. Most of you guys were probably taught this. Right? Right? Okay. And most of you were taught that these guys are the sides, and this guy is the hypotenuse. And I'm hoping that maybe that ink is going to show up in a minute. There it is. Magic. I don't like that. And here's why. If the letters change, I have students that have told me they can't do Pythagoras. So if I were to say this was X and this was Y and this was Z, I have had students in the 11th grade tell me they don't know how to do Pythagoras because the letters aren't A, B, and C. None of you would ever say that to me, would you? Because that's stupid, right? That's like saying, I'm in England and I have a bag of potato chips, but in England they call them crisps. And you're going to say, I'm not going to eat that because they're not called chips. That would be dumb, right? That's what bothers me about a squared, b squared, c squared. So I don't like to talk about it. I like to talk about the hypotenuse and the legs. The hypotenuse is, of course, I got to wait until my computer decides to use the black ink. Spinning wheel of death. Green and yellow. Still green. There we go. The hypotenuse is, of course, the longest side. That's what everybody says when I ask them, oh, it's the longest side, Mr. Myers. How do you know it's the longest side? Did you get out a ruler? Ever? No. Heck deep. Yeah. That's an excellent definition for it. One sec, Haley. Unless you're asking to go to the bathroom or something, then just go. Ekdeep said, of course it has to be the longest side because A and B add up to it. Haley.
I was going to say that it's usually across from the right angle.
Not usually. All the time. And that's the other thing that bothers me. Right? People are like, I don't know where to find it. Right? So it's the longest side. That's what everyone says. Why is it the longest side? Well, like Ekdeep says, the legs add up. So of course it's got to be longer. And what Haley said is it's across. And the ink will show up from the right angle. So the right angle actually points to it. And the reason I make this, I go out of my way to talk about this, is because something that math teachers like to do is this. Don't write this down, just watch. Something a lot of math teachers like to do is this. Turn a triangle over. And now all of a sudden, I have had students say, I don't know where the hypotenuse is. I can't find it. That's what I say, David. But you can't say it to students or it hurts, your precious feelings. And then, you got to go on Instagram and tell everybody how big a dick your teacher is. But if you listen to what Haley said, the 90 degree always points to it. I have given hypotenuse questions on tests that are turned around, twisted, and kids are like, I can't do it. Or the other one that they can't do is when you do this. They look at that and they say, Mr. Myers, there's no 90 degree there. I can't find the hypotenuse. Is there a 90 degree in that question? Where? Right there. Why is that 90 degrees? Because it's got the little symbol in it. Everybody with me? Now, that works both ways. If I give you this question, can you do Pythagoras on this triangle down here? No. Why not? Doesn't have a 90 degree. No, it doesn't. Now, can you do Pythagoras on it? Yes. What if I told you it was this? 3, 4, and 5. Is that a Pythagoras triangle now? Yes. Why, David? Because 3 squared is what? 9. 4 squared is what? 16. And 5 squared is what? 25. So then, could I draw in the 90 degree? Yes. Is everybody with me? It either has to be there, or the sides have to add up to the square of the long side. Everybody with me? Okay. And the legs, of course, are the other two. And that is regardless. Oh, wow, this one's really dying today. Regardless of letter. Doesn't matter what we name them. They're the legs. So this first one, I'm looking for a hypotenuse. I've labeled it X. Can you do this? Of course you can. But there's no A, B, and C, Mr. Myers. It doesn't matter. Do I have legs or the hypotenuse here? I have my legs. So it's 8 squared plus 15 squared will equal X squared. Remember, I got a square root at the end. So that's the square root of 64 plus 225, which is the square root of 289, which is 17. Everybody cool? What's the shortcut that you can use to remember what you're doing? If you need the hypotenuse, you add. Over here, I do not need the hypotenuse, so I must be subtracting. So I like to do this the long way first. It's leg x squared plus 8 squared equals 12 squared, and then I do algebra. Then we talk about the shortcut. The shortcut is, of course, we subtract, right? X squared equals 12 squared minus 8 squared. X squared equals 144 minus 64. X squared equals 80. X equals like 8.9. The shortcut, of course, is if you need a leg, you subtract. And all of you already know this. It's not news to any of you because you can do Pythagoras in your sleep. Yeah? Yeah. Now. Okay. Yo. The square root of 80 is 8.9. Because at the end of Pythagoras, you always have to square root. Okay? Now, again, Amrit, this is one of those situations where you'll do a bunch of work with your calculator, you'll get x equals 80, and some of you will stop there because your calculator shows you 80, right? But then you got to say to yourself, how can x be 80? 80 would be longer than 12. And you know the hypotenuse has to be the longest side, right? Okay, so now I want you guys to see if you can find x and x. on these two questions? Go. You can talk to each other. It's not a test. So as it's drawn right now, you cannot do A unless you know trigonometry. And some of you do, but some of you don't. So right now, A cannot be done, can it? Everyone says, yeah, there's a 90 degree right there, so you can do hypotenuse. But you can't, because you don't know this side, do you? Then everyone says, well, sure you can, because you know those two sides. Just do Pythagoras there. Why can't you? You don't know that that's 90. You don't know that. Okay? Now, wait. What could you do it if I put this there? Then you can do it, right? Could you do it if I put these there? Why? Because that makes this 20, and now you've got a hypotenuse and a side, yes? Could you do it? Erase, please. Thank goodness I have a $4,000 computer. The one I used the last 3 years worked fine. Could you do it if I put this there? Why, David? Not necessarily 90 degrees, but if I put those there, that makes 20 and 20 the same. Is everybody cool with that? So you couldn't actually do this. Now I'm going to help you out. I'm going to put this there. Now, find x. So how many times did I need to do Pythagoras here? Twice, right? I had to do this triangle, which was the square root of 35 squared minus 20 squared. That gets me y. And then I had to do this triangle, which was the square root of y squared minus 10 squared to get x. Is everybody cool with that? That, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't done trigonometry before, is the basis of trigonometry. You use stuff that you have to find the stuff that you don't. Okay? So the answer up here was 35 squared minus 20 squared, which I'm sure somebody has done with their calculator by now and gotten the square root. What is it? Pardon me, 8.7? 28.7. Okay, so that was 28.7. Now, this is an example of what we were talking about earlier. If I round this now, Sydney, to 28.7, I'm going to get a slightly different answer, aren't I? So if I show you guys my calculator, which I have right here, I'm doing the square root of 35 squared minus 20 squared, 28.72. So I'm going to write that right here. but I'm going to leave it on my calculator with all its decimals. Is everybody with me? Because I know this next question is that answer squared minus 10 squared, correct? So I now know, because I wrote out my work, I need to do a square root of my last answer. So I hit that answer button, squared minus 10 squared. And I can enter it, and I get x to be 26.9 blah. 26.932582. Is everybody cool with that? Now, if I made this 28.7, I would have a very slightly different answer here, wouldn't I? But as you're a math teacher, do I know that you know Pythagoras if you rounded this to 28.7? Yeah. So am I okay with that? Of course I am. Everybody good? Sydney. Yeah, if your calculator doesn't have an answer key, it's another, then you would just do 28.7, right? Because it's hard to keep that number in your head, right? All right, can you do B with the information that you have? Maybe, right? Because you can find this, right? Right? How would you find that yellow line? That's the square root of 10 squared plus 20 squared, right? Which equals the square root of 100 plus 400, which equals the square root of 500. Is everybody cool with that? And the square root of 500 is whatever it is. 22.4. So it's approximately, and I'm going to use this symbol. You're such a piece of crap. Approximately, because that means approximately, 22.4. Everybody cool? So now I have 22.4. Now, is 22.4 the same as 25? No. So you can't use, you don't know that this is an isosceles triangle, right? Can I do Pythagoras on this yellow triangle to find x right now? Why not? Because you don't know that it's 90 degrees. Everybody with me? If I put this in there, now can you finish this question? Does everybody see why I gave you these two as examples that you were unable to do? Because everybody wanted to try Pythagoras on them, didn't they? But you're not allowed unless you know. Brooklyn. What I would do is you would write out, this question can't be done. I don't have enough information. Will I do that to you? I cannot guarantee that, because every so often I like to do something like that to see if you're really paying attention or if you're just filling in formulas. Because there's a big difference, right? So with that line there, it makes this really easy to do, right? What would it be? It would be the square root of what? Since I need a hypotenuse, am I adding or subtracting? Adding. So it'd be the square root of what? Oh yeah, 22.4 squared plus 25 squared. And that would give me my approximate answer. Everybody cool? So we know that 22.4 squared is 500, don't we? So it's going to be the square root of 500 plus 625, which means it's the square root of 1125. Is everybody good with Pythagoras? Is everybody good with some of the tricks that mean math teachers can pull with Pythagoras? Everyone's okay? Because the bell is about to ring. Is everyone good? Okay, when you get back, quiz time.
Is it all multiple choice again?
I don't think this quiz is. I don't think. No, it's not in the workbook. I'm just looking at what I'm going to get you to do when you finish your quiz. Okay, so remember, when you get back, I'm going to remind you of this again. When you get back, it's quiz. On the quiz, what do you have to write? Your name and your mark out of 30. When you're done your quiz, you're going to work on page 51 to 52. Pythagoras. Gouda? Great.